Now here's your host, Jason Voorhees and Aaron Savage.
Oh, yeah!
Hello, everybody, and welcome again to another edition of the Sports and Metal Podcast. With me, as always, my partner in crime, Jason Voorhees, and I'm Aaron Savage, and it's a very special show tonight. We have a very special guest, one of the original LA metal bands from the early days, had a song on the Metal Massacre 2 compilation in, I believe, 82. Founding fathers of metal in the LA scene. Please welcome from Armored Saint, Phil Sandoval, to the show.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, Phil, what's going on?
What's going on, Phil?
Great intro. I love the intro, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And you know what? I realized as it was playing, I think you're a Rams fan, right? I don't think we had any Rams in there.
It's all right. It's all right. But I mean, football and metal and just the way it looked, it was like F yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for the kind words, Phil. Anyway, we're happy to have you on the show. How are you, man?
Thank you. Very good. Very good. Just rocking and rolling. You know, trying to stay safe.
Awesome.
How's everybody doing?
I'm doing great. How about you, Jay?
Yeah, we're doing great, man. We've been looking forward to this for the last 2 months. We are psyched.
Right. Thanks for being so patient with me.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I know you guys were recording a video. Would you want to say what the song's going to be, or?
Yeah. It's a song called Loon Wolf. It's going to be like a little bit of a movie kind of thing, and it's a good song. We're going to rock and roll it. We're going to do that next week, actually.
Awesome. Yeah.
So,
and
everybody
for those of you that haven't picked up the latest record, that's from the new Armored Saint album. I know Jay and I are huge fans of it. The Punching the Sky record. Love the Punching the Sky video.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have to say, Jay and I both agree. I mean, the records you guys have put out in recent years are as good as anything you've ever put out. And I mean, it's unbelievable. You guys are in top form.
Yeah, I think we're just trying to reach this level, trying to write songs, you know, and just like play with the song requires and stuff like that, you know. And music's a big deal to us, and we love all kinds of music. So we have all kinds of little things in there. You can tell it's just not, it's rock, it's metal, it's rock and roll, you know. So it's a lot of things, and everybody really brought it, you know. And John sounds amazing, and everybody just is rocking that album really good.
Yeah, unbelievable.
You should buy it.
Absolutely, definitely pick it up. Punching the Sky, Armored Saint.
Yeah.
I mean,
my God. I mean, as you know, I actually ranked it the top album of 2020 in my for Philly Rock Radio, and there was quite a few publications that had that album ranked as the #1 metal album, and rightfully so. I mean, from top to bottom, I mean, there's not a single, you know, track on there that I wouldn't listen to. Matter of fact, I still listen to the album every day, at least a couple songs. That's how good it is. And that, to me, is a sign of a true great album.
Yeah, and when you listen to it with the headphones, you also get to pick up a couple of things that you don't normally hear. There's a lot of things in that album, so I listen to it too. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, like I said, for those that don't listen to Armored Saint, you guys are criminally underrated. You always have been. You're one of the hardest working bands I've ever seen. I mean, you guys, you could just tell that you guys put a lot of time and effort into all your, you know, material, and it definitely showed on this album.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a new level. I think we had to bring it after Win Hands Down. You know, that was a good album too. But I think this album kind of elevated in just melody and just everything, you know. And I always try to learn new things on guitar and stuff. I'm a student of the guitar, and I'll always be learning new things. So that's kind of like where I'm at with that. So everybody just brought it, and you know, it was the COVID thing. You know, we had to release it then. You know, but things are gonna be looking up because you know, it's gonna be you know, tours are gonna be happening and things like that. So look out for Armored Saint.
Yeah, I hope so, man. I really can't wait to see you guys out on the road again.
Yeah.
Yep. And to your point, I mean, all of your recent records have definitely been, in my opinion, more experimental, so much more diverse. La Raza comes to mind.
Yeah.
Where were your heads at on that record? I think that's probably your most eclectic collection of songs.
Yeah,
In my
I think.
opinion.
Yeah. Well, John and Joey wrote a lot of the songs there, so it was a lot of their input and stuff. And me and Jeff kind of came in and we just did our guitar stuff. But I think John and Joey are like the Lennon and McCartney of the band, and they just have a connection that cannot be messed with, and it's a very natural thing the way we record and the way it's happened with Armored Saint.
That leads me to a great question. You co-wrote "Can You Deliver" from March of the Saint, which was your first big hit MTV video. Were there any songs on the new record that you wrote?
Yeah, I have a riff, "End of the Attention Span." That was my riff. I wrote that in Croatia at a rehearsal, and John, I played that at when we were gonna play, and John goes, "What's that?" And I go, "It's a riff I came up with. I like that." And then that ended up being on the album. Also, "Unfair," I got a lyric in there. I showed it to John. I go, everything's like once upon a time, but now it's like once upon a minute, And he goes, "Oh, I like that," and that made it onto the song "Unfair." And also, "Do Wrong to None." Me and my brother came up with the main lick to that. So yeah, I was glad and honored to be part of the writing process on the record with three credits on the new album. So I'm honored to be part of that.
Awesome. That leads me to a question. Let's go back into the band's history a little bit. You and your brother Gonzo, you guys founded the band with Dave Pritchard, correct? The late great
Correct.
Dave Pritchard.
Yeah, Gonzo actually introduced me to Dave Pritchard. So Gonzo had a lot to do. He also introduced me to John and Joey. So actually, Gonzo had a lot to do with everything.
Yeah. That leads me to a question I have to ask. You did leave the band during the recording of Delirious Nomad. How come?
Yeah, well, I was kind of had to get my thing together and stuff like that, but it's all happy ending because I got asked to be back in the band. So it's kind of a thing I went through my dark days and stuff a couple of times, but life comes around and you gotta get your shit together, and that's kind of like what I had to do, and I did. So happy ending is that I'm a band now, and that's it. There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
That's awesome. And then that does lead me to a question, and it's only because I wasn't even aware of this. I didn't realize you had Alan Barlam in the band playing lead guitar in 1989. And I noticed, and I didn't realize either, Eddie Livingston played drums in 89-90. Now, obviously, Alan was a temporary guitar fill-in, obviously, when Dave tragically passed before you got Jeff Duncan, correct?
Right. You know your history. I'm not sure about the drumming thing, but yeah, Alan Barlam was in there for a little bit. Yeah.
I didn't even know that. That actually, I just did that kind of brushing up on my Armored Saint history for the show. Because I never knew that there was anyone that ever played drums for Armored Saint outside of Gonzo. So when I saw Eddie Livingston in the credits, I was like, wow, I didn't know that. I had no idea.
Minute. Okay, that I don't think Gonzo has always been the drummer for Armored Saint. I think that must be a misprint. Unless you want to talk to my brother right now.
Yeah, no, I was just curious. It caught me off guard too. So, yeah, cool.
Hey, speaking of your brother, how is it? How does it feel to actually be in a band with a sibling? That's got to be the coolest thing in the world that you guys have kind of. Obviously, you already have the bond of being siblings, but then to actually be able to be in a metal band, and but one step further, a metal band that's successful. Like, how does that feel? Because to me, that would be all. I mean, I don't have a brother. I have 3 sisters. But if I could just imagine if, like, me and my sister were in, like, some type of thing, and that was basically our career.
That's a great question.
Like, how does it feel?
That is a great question. Here's the thing. I think everybody in Armored Saint kind of are like brothers. You know, we might live in different places and stuff, but when the band comes together, there is this, you know, another word that I can't describe it other than like a brotherhood. So like John has a brother, Joey has a brother, Jeff Duncan has a brother, I have a brother. The difference between them is that my brother is in the band, and and brothers are brothers. We do have our little like differences and stuff like that. So it comes out every once in a while. But the thing is that we always connect. The love of the brotherhood of Armored Saint always kind of seems to win, and it's a positive thing. And it's a beautiful thing actually, and the music brings us together, and we all like respect each other. And John and Joy is just great. Jeff is amazing. My brother's amazing. We all kind of connect, and this is what kind of like brings Armored Saint to be Armored Saint, And we love each other, and not to get all too weird about it, but it is a great thing,
Yeah, I mean, after all these years, you guys are like a family. I could,
Yeah, it really is. It really is. I mean, John has said, if David Pritchard hadn't passed away, we'd probably be a three guitars kind of band, because he has said that many times. So kudos to John. So I think there is a brotherhood, and there's a documentary that's going to be that's just been finished filming by our producer, director. His name's Russell Charrington. He's a professor of film in Derbyshire, England, and he did a great movie of Armored Saint, the story of Armored Saint. James Hadfield, Lars Ulrich, people in the business on fair that signed us to Chrysalis. Bernstein, Peter Mensch, Q Prime Management, the ones that managed Metallica, they managed us before Metallica. There's a lot of history that people do not know about Armored Saint. We've always been in there, but we haven't, done the greatest success, but we've always been on the cutting edge of it all. And we were there when Metallica toured with Wasp, and the mosh pit hadn't even been invented yet. And here we are just seeing Metallica just storm through the United States, and we're the opening band, and we're like, oh my God, this is something special. But we were there too, just like trying to kick ass too. These guys from Metallica, they're bringing something new. And so it was a great thrill back in '84 when thrash and metal and stuff started happening. We were part of that, and we're still here, 2021. We got new stuff coming up too.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Going back into the band's history a bit, how did you guys get hooked up with Brian Slagle to get the track on the Metal Massacre 2 album?
Oh, that was really early on. I think Bob Nalbandian and Brian Slagle became friends with Joey and John, and we needed to get a track. They talked to us about it, and it was a weird thing because at that time, Joey was in an accident with Tommy Lee and stuff. And I don't want to get into too much about that, but the money that he got from that accident paid for the demo that Brian Slagle got, and it ended up being on Metal Massacre, which also happens to have a song by Marty Friedman.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had to throw that out there.
Cool.
Oh, I guess you saw my Megadeth shirt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I got a story about Megadeth.
I was going to ask you. I was actually just going to ask you that, but now that you brought it up, why don't you tell us the story with the Dave Mustaine story?
Okay, here's what happened. By the way, I have to say, me and Dave are great. He's a great guy. He's incredible. he invented a genre. He basically invented a genre, and to be able to play at that level and to sing, much respect to Dave Mustaine. But here's what happened. Okay, we were all very young. We were partying. We listened to Motorhead in a basement at some party in the valley, Betsy Bitch's house, and there was this was before the mosh pit, so we were just like running around, just dogpiling each other like in football. You know what I mean? Just like running around crazy. And I think I accidentally pushed Lars and he fell. But it looked like I did that on purpose, but I didn't really want to do that. It's just
Yeah.
Dave Mustaine saw this and he goes, "Man, I'm gonna get you." And I was like, "Oh shit." I didn't think nothing of it. So it came my turn to get dogpiled. There's like, James, a bunch of people around. I would say like maybe like 7 or 8 guys are on top of me. You know what I mean? And I could see in the corner of my eye Dave Mustaine like running towards the dog pile, and he jumps up. He literally jumps up and he lands on my foot. And I was like, "Oh my god!" But it wasn't like the way he wrote it in the book. Like you could hear like the crack of a tree breaking and stuff like that, and like he gave me a roundhouse kick. It was nothing like that. I was on the floor. But that's what happened. That's what happens when a bunch of drunken heavy metalers get together and listen to a Motorhead like at 12 volume. And the next day, I had but I want to end that story by saying it's all cool. Dave Mustaine later apologized 27 years later with a guitar, and he was very reflective and stuff like that. And later on, we had dinner at San Bernardino, and we talked and stuff. It's all good. I want everybody to know that much respect for both bands, and that's how we got the Mega Cruise. They said, "Hey, Armid said you should play with the Mega Cruise," and I said, "Sure, no problem." But all is good and stuff. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That was a great Dave Mustaine impersonation, Phil.
By the way, how metal is this? Dave Mustaine breaks your ankle. That's fucking metal, man.
There's nothing more metal than that.
It is metal. You are 100% spot on, man. And what a story. I mean, that's just an amazing, just to hear it. It's like you said, but you were just, a bunch of young kids and you're having fun. And now look at you. Like years later, like you just said, you were on the Mega Cruise. And speaking of the Mega Cruise, that's got to, I can't wait to go once this COVID is over. I can't wait for the next one because I will go on one. I haven't been on it yet, but I am looking forward to that. And hopefully you guys are playing.
Oh yeah, man. It was a great time and stuff. The food is amazing. I think I gained 10 pounds, man. But it was a great time for everyone. Really, I swear. It's like a metal cruise heaven.
Awesome. So I have to ask, I always heard these stories back in the day, how obviously, Metallica was an LA band before they went up to the Bay Area, and then obviously ended up in Old Bridge, New Jersey with Johnny Z. Signed on to Megaforce, yada yada. So back in those early LA days, though, you always heard the stories of like, Motley Crue, with the high heels and the hair, and Metallica, saying, "Oh, blah, 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 whatever, you guys are pussies, this and that," and then Nicky and Tommy say, "Yeah, we'll still kick your ass." You always hear these stories. So were you guys hanging out with like the Crue guys and stuff, or was it like really two separate scenes?
Well, it was kind of 2 separate scenes. It kind of was, and even punk rock was a little involved in there a little bit. But in Hollywood, there wasn't a lot of band clubs that were taking these heavy bands on. So a lot of the San Gabriel Valley was accepting the heavier bands and stuff like that. So there was more of a Hollywood thing and more of a San Gabriel thing, and the San Gabriel thing usually had the heavier bands because they didn't want to see all that the craziness in Hollywood. But But it was a kind of a little bit of a thing like that. But the guys in Molly Crew can kick your ass. Those guys are like 6 feet. You know?
Well, that's the stories you always heard. I always heard about like Lars and like maybe James like saying, "Oh, you guys are pussies," and then running away when Tommy and Nikki came after him and say, "We'll still kick your ass." I've always heard those stories, but
no, Tommy and Nikki can kick your ass. No, those guys can fight, and they got into they were the real deal. Actually, there was a picture that was on Facebook that you could see me looking at Mick Mars back in 1981 at the Starwood. I think it was it was 79 to 81. I don't know, really early. And I was amazed to see me looking at Mick Mars back in the back at the Starwood. That was a very important club back in the day. I mean, Van Halen, Quiet Riot, all these bands played that club, and we wanted to play that club, but we never got to play it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the stuff of legend and Eddie Nash. We all
know
Eddie
Nash. That's a whole different thing. Let's not get into the whole Eddie Nash with the Wonderland killing. Killing, drugs, and porn stars, John Holmes. I mean,
crazy stuff.
That's a whole different story right there, man.
Oh yeah, but it's the stuff of legend.
It totally is. It all that happened back in that time.
Yeah, yep. So Phil, I have to ask, what were your biggest influences growing up?
Growing up was everything in the 70s. I mean, back in the 70s, you have Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Elton John, Earth, Wind and Fire, Thin Lizzy, Judas Priest. All those bands influenced us. UFO, but my main guitar player guy that I gravitated to when I was young was Jimmy Page.
Sure.
I'm like a rock blues kind of guy and stuff like that. And so when Led Zeppelin came out with, I was like, man, I can't believe like Jimmy Page. But then when Eddie Van Halen came out, that's a whole different story. Like,
game changer.
I cannot believe Eddie Van Halen. But I'm like learning his licks. I'm just barely learning his licks that he played when he was 21, and I just learned like, Jamie's crying the other day,
Yeah, Eddie was a legend. Yeah, rest in peace.
Yeah, definitely. All those bands, Michael Schenker, so Jeff Beck, all those guys influenced me, and everybody. Ace Frehley, Kiss Alive. I heard that when I was in junior high school, and I was like, "What is that?"
Yeah.
What is that?
I know you're a huge Kiss fan. I've seen you post quite a few times about Kiss.
Yeah, Kiss.
Did you see them live? Did you see them live in makeup when they?
Yeah, the originals. Yeah.
Awesome.
I started going to concerts back in 1976, 77. I saw Led Zeppelin live at the Inglewood.
Oh my God, I'm jealous.
Yeah, and John Bonham and Keith Moon played a drum solo together on the third night. My first concert was Thin Lizzy opening up for Queen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah,
Aaron's a huge Queen guy.
Huge Queen guy. Yep.
Yeah.
He's definitely an underrated band.
I wouldn't say underrated, but definitely influential.
So influential.
Yeah.
The tone that Brian May's guitar makes is I can't even fathom how the hell he gets it, even with the stuff he uses. It's incredible.
Yep, absolutely. I always think of how Joe Elliott from Def Leppard described his playing at the Concert for Life. Remember the Freddie Mercury Concert for Life back in like 91? That was on my birthday, by the way, April 20th.
Oh, wow.
But I just remember when Joe Elliott brought Brian May out to play with Def Leppard and they did Tie Your Mother Down. And I remember he said, "The man with the curly hair and the curly guitar lead." And that's the best way to describe Brian May's playing, the curly guitar lead.
Yeah, the curly guitar lead. By the way, happy belated birthday.
Thank you, Phil. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, And as far as Eddie goes, like you said, I mean, you're still learning his licks. I mean, when I can't, I'm too young to have experience like when Van Halen came out and first, hit the scene. I can't imagine like putting that cassette in the stereo and hearing Eruption for the first time. The only thing I can imagine, it must have felt something like the way Marty McFly felt. I mean, the way George McFly felt when he went back to 1955 and put the headphones on his dad, and he said, "I am Darth Vader," and he hit the play button on the cassette and it said Van Halen. You remember that?
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, well, when Van Halen was coming up back in '78, I mean, there was a vibe around here. I mean, everybody talked about this great guitar player and stuff. I never got to see him in the backyard parties, but he lived like maybe like 5 miles away from us, same area. But there was always this vibe about Van Halen and stuff. And then when that album dropped, it was like, what the yeah, it was like, oh my God. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that he could play better than Jimmy Page. I was just floored. It took me a while. It stunned me, It's like, and now I have to have a new guitar hero, but I love Jimmy Page so much. How am I going to leave that? But I had to like learn from him and stuff, because he did change everything. I mean, we could talk for hours about Eddie Van Halen. I mean, but I would say that I will always be a student of his playing. And I'm learning stuff even now. I mean, I'm in my late 50s and I'm learning stuff that he did when he was 21.
That's amazing. And you're an amazing player, so that speaks volumes.
You are.
Thank you so much for the kind words. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're an amazing player, Phil.
Thank you.
I tell everybody that I know that either maybe hasn't really heard much of your guys' material. I always say that you're one of the most underrated, guitarists that, in all of metal, because and the band as a whole, like all of you guys are just great musicians. I mean, you, Gonzo, John, Joey, Jim, Tim, Jeff. I'm sorry,
Jeff Duncan.
Jim. But you guys are just amazing, and kind of. I guess my next question is, what age did you realize that you wanted to be a rock star?
Well, I picked up the guitar a little late. I was like 15, 16. And I wouldn't say that. I mean, back then, it was like just the Starwood just really called me, and that was our main thing. Me and my brothers just wanted to play the Starwood, Yeah. How do we do that? How do we do that? It's like, you got to have a band, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then John and Joey, were friends with Gonzo first, because they all went to the same. I'm a little older than them. I'm like a year and a half older, so I was in the next grade, and then my brother was in the grades that John and Joey were, and I always used to see my brother with these two other guys, like the Three Stooges, man. They used to do all kinds of crazy ass shit. You know what I mean? Throwing eggs at cars and like doing just like rambunctious stuff, but they were always into music, and then I got to know John and Joey, and we always would talk about Kiss and Queen, and we used to have like fights of like who's a better band and stuff, and I wouldn't say fights, but we would have discussions. And that's how that came about. And then we ended up doing this battle of the bands in Woodrow Wilson High School, and Rodney Bingerheimer came from KROQ, and he was going, "Oh my God, guess who won the battle of the bands? This band called Armored Saint." I don't even know. It was Royal Decree. It was called Royal Decree, and he mentioned the Sandoval brothers. Hey, maybe they'll be the next Van Halen, but. Because my brother were our brothers,
Sure, of course. Guitar, drums, yeah.
Yeah, and that's when we first heard our name on the radio. It's like, oh wow, Ronnie Bingenheimer was here. What the, That guy was big in KROQ. And what the hell is he doing at Woodrow Wilson High School in El Sereno? But he came and he saw us, and that's how things started.
I have to ask. We've talked about your longevity and how you guys are like a family. You're all brothers. So I have to ask, when John left for Anthrax, what was that like, and why was there such a long hiatus? For you guys to get back together.
Yeah, well, that was a little weird. That was a little weird, especially the way it was done. It was done in Hawaii when we were in front of this elementary school, and we were giving what is it, like a jobs, like like a career. It was like a career day, and we were like a rock band, and they had us, and we were all sitting down and stuff like that. And this is kind of an intimate thing that I'm going to tell you about. So we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, John blurts out and he says, "Well, I'm not going to be in this band anymore. I'm going to be moving on to Anthrax." And it was like, huh?
Wow.
So it was a weird thing, and that's where we first heard about it. Sorry, I'm just being a little open about things. And
we appreciate it.
It was just a really strange thing, because Symbol of Salvation was recorded, and we were doing tours and stuff like that. And I can remember there was kind of a buzz, and it was the beginning of the 90s. So grunge started, and just a lot of things happened and stuff. So then when he left to go join Anthrax, it was like, okay, now what? But then I was always into music and stuff like that. And then I went through my thing there. And then the next time that we got together, I was living in San Francisco. I was a bike messenger, and I got a call from John, and he said, "Hey, why don't you come over to LA, and we're going to do this record called Revelation, and we want you to play on it and stuff." And then I moved back to LA, and that's how that happened. And that was the hiatus there, And then he went through things with Anthrax, personal things that I don't know, I'm not aware of, but that's how that happened. Yeah.
So I have to ask, when The Sound of White Noise came out, what did you think of that record?
I thought it was great.
I think it's a great record.
It's a great album. John's a great singer.
He's an amazing singer. Yeah. I personally think it's my favorite Anthrax album.
Yeah, great album.
Yep.
Great production. I liked it. Yeah.
So are you guys all close with the Anthrax guys now?
Oh yeah, they came over. We did a show at the Gramercy Theater in New York, and they were all there. I mean, Frank Bello and stuff like that. Everything's cool. There's we don't have that kind of weirdness that some bands when they have, like, they put each other down and they do this and they say things in the press about each other. We don't do that, we try to be cool, and sometimes you just gotta let go of things, there's more things positive about things. So there's no ill will feelings or anything like that. It's just like, we don't rely on our laurels, It's the next thing. What's going to happen next and stuff like that. We keep pushing forward, and we keep the positivity growing all the time.
It's funny you say that, because I agree 100%. When I think of Anthrax and when I think of Armored Saint, I think of two bands that are like comprised of some of the nicest guys in metal and rock. Like, yeah. I mean, nice guys, hardworking guys. And I will say one thing. Same thing with Anthrax. I actually think, same as with Armored Saint, some of their recent stuff is as good as any of the stuff they've ever put out. You guys are kicking ass. A lot of these bands, I mean, some of the bands from that time period are putting some of the best material they've ever put out now, in my opinion. Our best, it definitely is on par with it.
I mean, I put the new record at the top of your catalog. It might not be the best, I put it right there with Symbol of Salvation. Those two albums to me are my personal favorites. But I do want to mention that the album that I kind of started listening to more recently, that I've really gotten into, that I think is a hidden gem in your catalog, is La Raza. Because I got to be honest with you, that record, like, it's just a phenomenal. It's a different, like, it's kind of different for you guys, but at the same time, like, the songwriting, it's so unique. You know, I mean, I'm not going to, list all the songs, but obviously the opener, Loose Cannon. I mean, what an opener. I mean, you're talking about, a song that just gives me goosebumps when I listen to those solos that you guys do, and you kind of, go back and forth with the solos and stuff. And I mean, John, like I said, these last three records, even Win Hands Down, even is really good. And just, you guys are just, I feel like you're at your peak now. Like, it's just amazing. And I said that to Aaron because I'm a diehard Striper fan. And Striper, the same thing. They're putting out some, like, phenomenal material, like stuff that you would never even, like, it was like, it would be sacrilegious to not say To Hell with the Devil was, like, one of their best albums. But today, I put their three new albums right at the top of their catalog. And I don't know if it's just, maybe it's the fact that everybody's maturing as musicians, but it's just, whatever you guys are doing it right. Because, like I said, I know Aaron, thinks the same about La Raza. I mean, I guess I'm curious, was there something different that you guys were going through? Like, I know a lot of your material, you kind of, you write how you feel. And was there something maybe going on with the band that kind of, I'm just curious.
Yeah, there was things going on with the band, personal things and stuff. And John was going through something with Anthrax at that time too, in a way. And that's his own deal and stuff like that. But the thought process, I guess, was to make a different kind of album, because the previous album, Revelation, was more on the heavier side, and stuff. And I think John and Joey wanted to explore other avenues. And since John, I guess, was in Anthrax, and that was like a heavy thing, and stuff. So maybe he didn't want to do such a thing like he did in Anthrax, because he already did it in Anthrax. So let me do something different in Armored Saint, And,
I can see that.
That's why La Raza has a different tinge of the different thing. And so does Win Hands Down, and Punching the Sky also has a different thing. And we keep, like, trying to elevate the spectrum of Armored Saint in a lot of things, the perspective, of cultural, like the end of the attention span deals with technology, and how it has affected the whole culture, everyone, and the whole world and stuff. So we're trying to touch onto different aspects of it. And Lone Wolf is a song of personal endeavors, and stuff. It's things that people have to go through, and that's going to be our next video. But I think there was something in the water back then with La Raza, and I think John and Joey just hit it on the nail with that.
Well, where do you rank the record in your catalog? I mean, is it one of your favorites or not? No, La Raza.
La Raza is just an interesting. It's very interesting. I would say it's one of our good records. You know what I mean? I think Symbol of Salvation, Punching the Sky, March of the Saint. Those are part of where I was involved a lot in, and those are special records. And La Raza is a record that John and Joey kind of like wrote on their own in a way, and it's still a great record. I'm not saying nothing wrong about that. So don't say anything about it. So it's all like an elevation and kind of like moving forward. I would say that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Anyway,
why don't we get into the sports?
I was just going to say the show's called Sports and Metal. So
Okay.
So let's go. So tell us I know you mentioned to us you're into UFC.
Yeah, like Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture, Tito Ortiz, that whole that's when I started getting into the UFC, and those were like my favorites back then, and Chuck Liddell, come on, you know what I mean? He's one of the best. Yeah.
Of course. So what other sports are you into also?
Well, I'm a Rams fan, and I used to like watch the films in the 70s where the voice of football, the guy John Facenda used to do the football films, like Larry Zonka from the Miami Dolphins, and they used to slow down the film and his voice, and I was like, whoa, so they kind of made like football artistic in a way, and that's how I got into football, and me and my brother used to pretend like we were in football and slow down our steps and tackle each other and stuff. But that's how I got into like watching football and stuff like that. But
the Rams obviously left for a while to St. Louis. Were you still a Rams fan then?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I was a Rams fan then. Yeah.
I'm a diehard Dolphins fan. Speaking of Larry Zonka.
Yeah. Right.
Jay's an Eagles fan.
Right.
Eagles fan. So are you a Dodgers fan as well?
Yeah, I'm a Dodgers fan. Well, I live in LA. Come on, Dodgers are the champions.
Yep.
Lakers are the champions.
Yep. Lakers, yep.
So right now, LA's doing pretty good with that, and stuff. So
I'm envious, I have to admit. I'm a long-suffering Mets fan.
Wow. My son is a New York Mets fan too.
Oh, tell him I said hey.
Yeah.
If you guys are ever out in the East Coast, I'll take him to a game.
Yeah. He loves the East Coast. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. What were you going to say, Jay? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, does your brother like sports too, or he's not as much into it as you?
Oh, no, well, I think he's a little more into it than me.
Okay.
Yeah, John Bush is like, dude. John knows all his sports. Like, he's dialed in. He gets the paper. He looks at the sports page. He like reads the sports page. When we're on tour, he cannot go without his newspaper. He will walk 10 miles in the morning to get his freaking newspaper.
That's how I am. I was like that when I was a little kid. I remember going on a 7th grade trip with my French class to Montreal. Uh-huh. And one of the things we did, this would never happen today in today's world. But believe it or not, I stand corrected. It was 8th grade. It was our 8th grade graduation trip from junior high with our French class. They took us for a week to Canada. Could you imagine 8th graders going with school to Canada for a week? Now, no way. And we actually had like 5 kids per hotel room. Unfathomable now. So anyway, right. I remember every day that I was there, I had to go get the newspaper. And I was in 8th grade because I needed to get the Mets box score. And it was in French. I was so mad. But it was really cool. We actually went to a Mets Expos game at Olympic Stadium. This was 1988. So this is when the Mets were really good. When they had Darryl Strawberry, Dwight Gooden, all those guys. And we actually went to a game in Montreal with our 8th grade French class. That's awesome for me. That's a great memory that I have. But I'm just like John Bush. I have to go get my paper every morning to this day.
Yeah. That's great about him. Mike Piazza. Mike Piazza's a big Armored Saint fan. He lives in Florida. He came when we were playing there with Queens. He was like knocking on the door on our bus, and of course it's Mike Piazza. We're gonna let him in. He came in. We were talking. He's a great guy, man. So we took pictures with him and stuff like that. So I'm a
huge Piazza fan. Obviously, as a Mets fan, you as a Dodgers fan, we both love Piazza, and he's a metalhead. I remember when I used to go to Shea Stadium to watch the Mets, and I'd get there early to watch Piazza take batting practice, and he always had metal music on during his BP. And in particular, I remember he always was playing the Def Leppard High and Dry album. Like, he'd be doing batting practice, you'd hear let it rock, let it go, and he's hitting bombs. He's always high and dry. He always had that record playing during
That's
BP.
crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to get Piazza on the show.
Oh, yeah, he would be a great show, man. He would be a great person to talk to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a huge fan. So
Put in a good word for us.
yeah. We just had Mark Ternillo from Accept a couple weeks ago on the show, and he was talking about getting Piazza on here.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah.
We're
That's
hoping.
cool.
We're hoping.
Right on.
Yeah, I had another question. I was thinking, what's your favorite? Not to get off back to the music subject, but just real quick, I was thinking, who's your favorite new band? Like, if you had to pick a metal band today, like when I say new, I mean maybe like after like 2000, so like Avenged Sevenfold, Bullet for My Valentine, those kind of bands. Who would you say is the best new metal band?
Gojira comes to mind. They're from France. They opened up for Metallica. They have a lot of Metallica in them, and they have a lot of Meshuggah in them. Meshuggah is one of my favorite bands. I wouldn't say that they're recent, but I think Gojira is a band that I've listened to it, and I go, man, these guys are good.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Yeah, I heard Meshuggah. They actually did they were on that Alice in Chains special a little bit while back. During the COVID, they had that Alice in Chains tribute. I don't know if you saw it on what was that on YouTube, Aaron?
Yeah, it was like they were inducted into the Seattle Music Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you an Alice in Chains fan?
Of course. Are you kidding me? We saw them at the Quarantine Gardens when they first played in LA. And we were like, what? I mean, it was like the drummer has a lot to do with the grooves, but Lane Stanley, he's an Armored Saint fan. He's an Armored Saint fan. He came to Mexico to see us play, and I walked up to him and I'm going, what the hell are you doing here, dude? And he goes, to see Armored Saint. And I went, really? And he goes, yeah. And I went, fuck. And then I took a picture with him and John Bush. But I was honored. I was like floored that he liked Armored Saint.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm a big Alice in Chains fan. And Mike Inez is a good friend. So yeah, Alice in Chains, man, amazing. I love them.
They're to me they're equal. I mean, they always got lumped in with grunge, but to me they're a metal band. Yeah. Let's not forget Mike Inez wrote that legendary bass line for No More Tears.
Yeah.
If you ever do come up with, on an album, if you ever think of doing a cover, you should do a cover of Alice in Chains. You guys. Yeah. I think John could hit his voice range.
Yeah. John could do him. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And they have great songs. They have great harmonies. Jerry Cantrell has a lot to do with the harmony vocals. It just sounds like Alice in Chains. You know what I mean?
I agree. Jerry Cantrell is like the Michael Anthony of Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
I mean, he's that integral to the sound. I mean, when you think of Van Halen, you think of those high harmonies and you think of that bass line. With Alice in Chains, I mean, it's equal parts Lane, it's equal parts Jerry vocally,
Yeah, I mean, they created their niche. That's what happens when a band kind of like does their own thing and they create their niche. It's like nobody can touch you. Metallica is like that, Slayer is like that, Megadeth. These bands created their niche. And it's like you can't touch that. You know what I mean? It's like It's a great thing when a band create their own voice and their own voice in their genre, and that's what these bands have done. And Alice in Chains is a great example of creating your own in the genre of music, and it's like an incredible thing, really.
Absolutely. Anyway, Phil, before we end the show, I want to ask one final question. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the guitars that you build?
Oh yeah, well, I used Warmoth bodies, and Music Craft Necks, and I do all my fret work if it needs it. And I use Seymour Duncan pickups. And I just, the COVID happened, and I was like, man, you know what? I got some time. I never built a guitar before, so you know what I mean. I might as well like get into this, and I built my Star guitar because Eddie Van Halen had a Star guitar, you know, and then I built a Super Strat, but I wanted to do it different because everybody got one pickup with Eddie Van Halen, so I just did two humbucking pickups, and I love building guitars, and it's a good thing because you get to know what a guitar, you know, your instrument is made out of and how it works. And, you know, I learned how to solder, how to pick up, how to install all the components. And I'm learning all the time, you know. Carl Sandoval, I told him my name is Sandoval. If I can I use that name because your name's Sandoval. You built the you know, Randy Rhodes polka dot Flying V, and I'm going. I don't want to, you know, step on your toes. He goes, your last name is Sandoval. You can use your name. So I said, okay. So we both have two Sandovals, guitar builders. But
awesome.
he doesn't put his Sandoval on his headstock, so I might have to start doing that. But it's something that I love doing. And that's the thing about Eddie Van Halen. He built that guitar.
Yep.
You're right.
So
I've actually had the pleasure of meeting a guy who worked for Kramer and then would later build his guitars. Paul Unkert. He's also known as the guitar guy.
yeah.
Out here in New Jersey, he has a little store down in Toms River, New Jersey. He's called the Guitar Guy, and it's just awesome. I mean, he has all the parts that he was using to build the spec Eddie guitars that Eddie would have him make at the Kramer plant. Like, I guess it was around Van Halen 2, Women and Children First, around that period. And I mean, he's still, it's just really cool. He can make an exact Eddie replica, you know.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, so I can totally relate to that. I mean, it's awesome. But listen, Phil, I mean, I'm so glad to have you on the show. What's that, Jay?
No, I've seen the work on Facebook, and it's just amazing. Like you're really masterful. Like I know you say you're learning every day, but like yeah, you do some great work. So if you haven't checked out Phil, check him out on Facebook because
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Yeah, and like I said, I was saying we're so happy to have had you on the show. Everybody, we want you to pick up the new Armored Saint album, Punching the Sky. And Phil, I mean, we can't thank you enough. I mean, it's an honor.
Thank you so much, guys. You guys are awesome, and it's a great show. I recommend it to everybody. You know, sports and metal. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Anyway, thanks again, Phil. Everybody out there, rock on.
Peace out. Peace out.
Thank you, man.